and you're down the gate this morning yelling at the people, I believe, and doing all that and upsetting them. He gets all the food out of the oven and all that sort of stuff. And we were hoping to get a gas oven, so he liked to put his head in there a lot. Electric doesn't work, does it?
That's what I've got to put up with.
I'm only filling in.
Right up.
That's what you say to all the boys.
Yeah, we'll sit back and relax.
Well, all right then. I've now got a rather solemn duty to perform. I Well, that's right, yeah, because I am doing an obituary right now. Yeah. And the obituary is, oh, jeez.
Just leave it all alone. It was
All right,
working before you got there.
The obituary is for Mr. Common Sense. Today we mourn the passing of a beloved old friend. Mr. Common Sense is his name, and his reputation I'll defend. No one knows for sure how old he was of late. His birth record lost long ago in bureaucratic red tape. And my parents told me about Mr. Common Sense early in my life, calling on him when decision making kept me out of strife. It seems he was always around when needed in my early years, but less and less as time passed, till he just, well, sort of disappeared. He will be remembered as having given us valuable lessons to learn, like it is always the early bird who catches the worm, and like knowing when to actually come in out of the rain, and life isn't always going to be fair, and ain't that a shame. Conflicts can be solved without ever mounting an assault, and maybe, just maybe, sometimes it was my fault. And Mr. Common Sense lived by the sound financial policy that if you spend more than you earn, it will lead to tragedy. His one parenting strategy that loomed rather large was that adults, not children, are always in charge. His health deteriorated when the do-gooders and greenies entered the race, and their well-intended but overbearing regulations were put into place. A 6-year-old boy was charged with sexual harassment for kissing a classmate, and a teacher fired for reprimanding a student further sealed his fate. He lost ground when parents attacked the teachers for doing the job, and they themselves failed to do, disciplining their own mob. He declined even further when schools had to get parental consent to administer aspirin or sticky plaster to a student. But we're not allowed to inform a parent if a student became pregnant and wanted an abortion. It was deemed as irrelevant. He finally lost the will to live as the 10 Commandments became contraband. Then churches became businesses right across the land. And criminals received better treatment than their victims, taking drugs accepted as the norm in our corrupted system. He took a beating when if you defended yourself, you were at fault, and a burglar in your home could sue you for assault. Now, Mr. Common Sense finally gave up the will to live. After a famous Mac attack, he became submissive. A woman failed to realise her coffee was hot and her brain absent, spilled some on her lap, and was promptly awarded a huge settlement. Common Sense is preceded in death by his parents, truth and trust. Along their responsibility, discretion and reason are dust to dust. He is survived by 3 ugly stepsisters, and that is a shame. I am a victim, I know my rights, and someone else is to blame. It is true that not many are here to farewell this icon, as so few have realised he is well and truly gone. And if you fondly remember him and his legacies as we eulogise, join with me as we mourn his unfortunate demise.
Yeah, true. We're very true, isn't it? Well done, Mike. For a bloke that's got all the handicaps in the world that you've got, you're writing very well.
Well, you will understand this next one. I've got one I wrote here. That's just something that we've all bloody well got to put up with these days. And I called it Kiwi.
That's right.
Following a terrible shipwreck, a lone Kiwi is washed up onto a beach. And the only other survivors are a kelpie and a sheep. And it's enough to make you want to weep. After a futile search, he comes to the conclusion that he finds hard to comprehend and to understand why they are stranded on a deserted island. And after a while, he got into the habit of going to the beach to watch the sunset, all the while accompanied by his friendly four-legged duet. Now, one particular evening, they sat there wistfully dreaming. The sky was a fiery red, giving a supernatural feeling. Beautiful, puffy, fluffy clouds, tinged with gold, quite ornamental, and the breeze wafted from the ocean, fresh, warm and gentle. Now these idyllic surroundings cast a spell, like sort of in a trance. It was the perfect setting maybe to take a chance on romance. As they sat there to the lonely Kiwi, the sheep looked better and better. Surely you can understand that it really doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
He leaned over and bravely put his arms around the ewe, but the kelpie, ever protective of the ewe, knew exactly what to do. He growled fiercely, hackles up, exposing slobbering teeth, until our man without a peep took his arm from around the sheep. After that, the three of them enjoyed the sunsets together, but there was no more cuddling, no matter whatever the weather. And a few weeks later, lo and behold, another tragedy did unfold. Another shipwreck, we are told, and his chance to be brave and bold. The only survivor was a beautiful young woman, the most beautiful he had ever seen. All his prayers had been answered. He was living the dream. She was in poor shape when he rescued her, but he nursed her back to health, and their affection for each other grew and grew. Their only form of wealth. Now, when she was well enough, he introduced her to the evening beach ritual, and the four of them there sat there entranced, as if gazing as an exotic jewel. Now, this particular evening, they sat there wistfully dreaming. The sky was a fiery red, giving a supernatural feeling. Beautiful, puffy, fluffy clouds, tinged with gold, quite ornamental, and the breeze wafted from the ocean, fresh, warm and gentle. Now these idyllic surroundings cast a spell, like sort of in a trance. It was the perfect setting maybe to take another chance at romance. Now pretty soon the Kiwi started to get those old feelings all over again. He fought the urge as long as he could, but alas, all in vain. He leaned over to the young woman and whispered, with all the charisma he had been taught, "My dear, would you mind taking the dog for a walk?" Here's something, Boo. How do you know if a Kiwi has been into your fridge? There are love bites on the leg of lamb.
Oh boy. Bobby down, folks. There's only one and only.